One of the most important topics of psychology is personality, and today we will be learning about nature, definition and characteristics of personality. Let us understand it through the objectives as what we are going to learn. In this lesson, we will focus to learn on the meaning and various definitions of personality. It is nature and few characteristics of personality. Introduction. In our day-to-day life, we tend to see many people around us who must have made you feel happy, upset, angry, jealous with their behavior, or made you feel on top of the world with their actions. Whether we are disturbed or felt good by their behavior, we identify that there is something which is making us act and react accordingly. These elements that are affecting us will define a person's personality and our personality too. We often say that she is so nice or he is so bold. What does these words mean when we start describing someone? Let us discuss about such an interesting topic which influences us in and out in every situation of our life. The study of personality is the study of people's psychological and behavioral individuality, that is, of characteristics make each person an individual, and psychologists have an array of ideas about just what makes each of us an individual. This range of ideas may be summarized by reference to an often cited observations by Cluckhorn and Murray in 1948. This is certain respects every person is, like all other people, like some other people, like no other person. Thus, these are characteristics common to all people. For example, all people can adapt to their worlds, can do what is needed to survive. There are also characteristics that people share with only some other people. For example, our society and culture lead us to have certain values, attitudes and beliefs which differ from those held by people who grow up in the different society and culture. Finally, there are characteristics that are each person's alone. For example, each of us has a unique genetic inheritance and a singular history of environmental experiences. Given that all people share some characteristics with all others, with only some others and with no others, a comprehensive study of personality would involve describing and explaining all three sets of features in people. Instead, psychologists have tended to develop theories and research which focuses on one of these emphases. Personality psychologists or personologists have therefore focused on either 1. The generic human being, meaning the general case of humanity, and they emphasized a nomathetic approach to personality, that is, one stressing group laws, principles that apply to all or to large group of human beings. 2. Idiographic laws, principles that may apply only to the individual. These two approaches to personality have different emphasis and no approach denies made by Cluckhorn and Murray in 1948. Each person has a characteristic which are common to all people, shared only by others in the person's group or groups and specific to that particular person. As we review major approaches to personality, we shall see evidence of concerns with all these facets of the person. If you were recommended for a higher position, a promotion in your organization, and many of your colleagues were happy and said you are the right person to own that position, What does this indicate? And your superior who recommends you explains it with few words such as active, smart, people-oriented, charismatic, committed, goal-oriented and potential. These words are describing the person and his or her ability to deal with a job. Such qualities, adjectives, which can be used to characterize a personality, and these qualities are of immense importance in work, in the home and all forms of social interactions. These adjectives are personality words which are qualities of behavior. Every individual have a style of an action which indeed becomes one's personality. Thus, personality can be broadly defined as a total quality of an individual behavior. An individual's personality is a combination of traits and patterns that influence their behavior, thought, motivation and emotion. It drives individuals to consistently think, feel and behave in specific ways. In essence, it is what makes individual or each individual unique. Over time, these patterns strongly influence personal expectations, perceptions, values and attitudes. Therefore, personality is the unique way in which each individual thinks, acts and feels throughout life. But personality should not be confused with character, which refers to value judgments made about a person's morals or ethical behavior, nor should it be confused with temperament, the enduring characteristic with which each is born, such as irritability or adaptability. Both character and temperaments are vital parts of a personality, but not synonymous to personality. Let us understand this with or through meaning and few standard definitions of personality. When psychologists talk about personality, however, they are concerned primarily with individual differences, the characteristics that distinguish one individual from the other, and they do not agree with the exact definition of personality. With this, let us know what personality is. The personality or the term personality is derived from the Latin word called persona, which means a mask, a term referring to the mask worn by actions or actors performing in ancient Greek plays. It is clearly understood as a study of masks that people wear in their day-to-day life, leaving an impression on others. These are the personas that an individual projects and showcases, including the core aspect of psychological experience, which is collectively called as self. The term personality is used as a hypothetical construct or an agency which explains the integration of different behavioral processes like habits, interests, abilities, talents, etc., resulting in a meaningful behavior in such a way so as to make one person different from others. The term personality therefore explains both generality and individuality in behavior. Let us understand the definitions given by various psychologists for a better understanding, as personality is a continuous process of observation and analysis. Personality refers to the organized, consistent and general patterns of behavior of a person across situations, which helps us to understand his or her behavior as an individual. Understanding through the definition by G. W. Allport, who defined personality as a person's pattern of habits, attitudes and traits which determine his or her adjustment to his or her environment. According to R. B. Cattell, Personality is that which permits a prediction of what a person will do in the given situation. Well, Einsick illustrated that personality is the more or less stable and enduring organization of a person's character, temperament, intellect, and physique, which determine his unique adjustments to the environment. According to Kimball Young, personality is a patterned body of habits, traits, attitudes, and ideas of an individual, as these are organized externally into role and statuses, and as they relate internally to motivation, goals, and various aspects of selfhood. Another definition given by Robert E. Park and Ernest W. Burgess: personality is the sum and organization of those traits which determine the role of the individual in the group. And according to Herbert A. Bloch, who defined personality as the characteristics organization of the individual habits, attitudes, values, emotional characteristics which imparts consistency to the behavior of the individual. Let us add few more. According to the Arnold W. Green, personality is the sum of a person's values, the objects of his striving, such as ideas, prestige, power, and sex, plus his or her non-physical traits, his or her habitual ways of acting and reacting. Similarly, according to Ralph Linton, personality embraces the total organized aggregate of psychological processes and status pertaining to the individual. Personality, says by Robert McClever, is all that an individual is and has experienced so far at this. All can be comprehended as unity. According to Shelley Lundberg and others, the term personality refers to the habits, attitudes, and other social traits that are characteristics of a given individual's behavior. Ogburn and Nimkoff define personality as the integration of socio-psychological behavior of the human being, represented by habits of action and feelings, attitudes, and opinions. Mark H. Davis regards personality as a psychic phenomenon which is neither organic nor social, but an emergent from the combination of the two. According to Anderson and Parker, personality is the totality of habits, attitudes, and traits that result from socialization and characterizes us in our relationships with others. According to Munn, that is N.L. Munn, personality may be defined as the most characteristics integration of an individual's structure, modes of behavior, interest, attitudes, abilities, capacities, and aptitudes. According to Morton Prince, personality is the sum total of all the biological innate dispositions, impulses, tendencies, and instincts of the individual and the acquired dispositions and tendencies acquired by experience. Lawrence A. Pevin has given a working definition of personality in his words. Personality represents those structural and dynamic properties of an individual or individuals as they reflect themselves in characteristics responses to situations. Well, all these definitions that we have understood explains all about person and their behavioral interaction with their self and their external world. And very interestingly, after knowing various definitions of personality defined by psychologists, though there are differences in views, all psychologists agree on certain common characteristics. The understanding of the nature of personality will be clear if we go through the characteristics of personality. These are the nature and the characteristics of personality. Whenever we refer people saying that they have lots of personality, we tend to see the nature and the characteristics in specific which are making them different from others. People have tendencies to act or think in certain ways regardless to situations. This characteristics word implies to some consistency in behavior. Let us understand these characteristics in detail which are essential for sorting individual differences. The first one that we would be talking right now would be uniqueness. Every individual is specific and are quite different in their behavior, which makes them completely unique and away. Researchers observed that even identical twins do not possess same or exact qualities and attributes, and thus no individual is same. Organization. Each component of actions of an individual combines to make one's personality developed, bringing an identity which plays an important role in social interactions. It's a complete integration in making a whole from bits and parts to structure a person's personality. Consistency or stability. Consistency or stability is one of the characteristics of personality. A person is recognizable from situation to situation by the consistent characteristics that are reflected in his behavior. For example, an individual who you know does not get angry no matter whatever the provocation is, and another one who easily gets irritated and throw up things for cracks down over slightest problems. Another best example is few characteristics people show which are very consistent in nature, like honesty, punctuality, and being selfish. Dynamic. Another very important characteristic of personality. Although the personality of an individual remains stable to a large extent, it undergoes a lot of changes and cannot be said to be static. It is always dynamic and continuously in the process of change and modification when provided with the inputs required for the change. A great deal of adding and deleting few desirable or undesirable behavior can be one of the examples in developing personality. For example, clay in the hands of potter, a desirable shaping is possible. Self-consciousness. A very important component of personality is self. An internal awareness of an individual is self, and exhibiting self-consciousness in their every interaction within themselves or with others is inevitable. It is the proud possession of a human being and is described as when the idea of self enters into his or her consciousness and individual tends to show their behavior wearing a mask to the external world. For example, a wall, when constructed with all the materials required to make a strong structure, and beautifies itself by painting it with different colors to make up things brighter externally, but it might have a weak broken brick that might be known only to the self of that wall, which is hidden deep in the consciousness of a wall, which is a person internally. Psychophysical system. Personality is neither entirely physical nor mental. Similarly, it is neither the product of heredity totally nor the product of acquired or learnt behavior. It embraces both physical and mental, nature, nurture, body and mind functioning. The psychophysical systems composed of habits, attitudes, emotions, etc. are the product of heredity, endowments and the required life experiences of the individual. Psychosocial characteristic. Personality is developed in society which helps an individual to connect to the external world thoughtfully are important to build and maintain social relationships, where family, friends, relatives, neighbors, school and community are crucial in influencing the game of learning behavior. An individual's relation with his or her environment, his or her feelings, attitudes are basic to the idea of personality. An integrated personality is one which makes harmonious adjustment to environment, particularly the social environment. Let us understand personality, its nature, definitions and the characteristics through this case study. It is a small story on character. A long time ago, there was a boy. He was smart, talented and handsome. However, he was very selfish and his temper was so difficult that nobody wanted to be friends with him. Often, he got angry and said various hurtful things to people around him. The boy's parents were concerned about his bad temper. They considered what they could do, and one day the father had an idea. He called his son and gave him a hammer and a bag of nails. The father said, "Every time you get angry, take a nail and drive into the old fence as hard as you can." The fence was very tough and the hammer was heavy. Nevertheless, the boy was so furious that during the very first day he has driven 37 nails. Day after day, week after week, the number of nails was gradually decreasing. After some time, the boy started to understand that holding his temper is easier than driving nails into the fence. One day the boy did not need hammer and nails anymore, as he learned to hold his temper perfectly. So he came to his father and talked about his achievement. "Now every time when you hold your temper all day long, pull out one nail." Much time has passed. At last, the boy could be proud of himself as all the nails were gone. When he came to his father and talked about this, he offered to come and take a careful look at the fence. "You did a very good job, my son, but pay your attention to the holes that left from the nails. The fence will never be the same. The same happens when you say hurtful things to people, as your words leave scars in their hearts, like those holes in the fence. Remember when we need to treat everyone with love and respect, because it doesn't matter that you say you are sorry. The scars will not disappear." The story helps us understand that personality is integrated with many components, and each component has its own role and could label a person indeed, which can help them to achieve or to deceive. The summary of the lesson. The study of personality emphasizes normal individual variations. Definitions of personality vary from one theorist to the next, but most agree that it consists of distinctive patterns of behavior, including thoughts and emotions that characterizes a person's adaptation to situations of his or her life. Personality is the collection of characteristics, thoughts, feelings and behaviors that make up a person. Our family, society and culture leads us to have certain values, attitudes and beliefs which differ from those held by people who grow up in the different society and culture. Thus, each person has a characteristic which are common to all people, shared only by few and none by others in the person's group or groups in specific to that person. It is very unique, consistent and dynamic in nature, which is stable over a period of time. Yet, it can change its forms when the individual fall under the different circumstances developing personality.